Hi, I'm Catherine Hansen here at beautiful Bishop's University, one of the oldest universities in the country. For 2 weeks this summer, the campus here at Bishop's came alive with young athletes from across the nation as part of the Canada Summer Games in Sherbrooke. Our CKPG News team was happy to be a part of the event, and over the next half hour, we'll tell you more about the economic spin-offs from the Games, how the community rallied with a massive amount of volunteers, and how the legacies left in Sherbrooke will impact the community for years to come. But first, the Canada Winter Games organizing team went to school over the past couple of weeks, and we'll find out more about how they learned how to host the Games.
So on Monday and Wednesday, it was the venue meetings.
Across the country to a classroom in Sherbrooke, Quebec. That's where members of the planning team spent a week this summer. Through a transfer of knowledge process, the next hosts of the Canada Games learned about a variety of topics, from Games venues to security. CEO Stu Ballantyne attended many of these sessions.
And so we're sitting down with them and talking to them to make sure that, you know, the nuances that happen between the various teams, the provincial and territorial teams, between the coaches, so that we do things right. And it's great to have this opportunity to sit with a CEO when he's in the middle of his games.
It's also important for the city to be here so that we get that same perspective. We've got some infrastructure things we're working on. We've got some pieces of responsibility around the Games, and we need to learn as much as we can from people that are on the ground doing it right now.
Planning team members rubbed shoulders with other Games planners, including those from Winnipeg, who will host the 2017 Summer Games, and organizers from the next Pan Am Games in Toronto. The experience was a chance to continue building the framework necessary to hold a successful winter event in February 2015. Over the last couple of years, Stu Ballantyne has maintained a close relationship with his counterpart and CEO of the Sherbrooke Games, Luc Fournier.
In contact with Stu Ballantyne until 2 years to explain all the details of the games, because it's thousands and thousands of details that you don't understand because you've never seen that as transportation or food or security. That's fine-tuning of our experience.
During its time in Sherbrooke, the planning team also took in athletic events, paying close attention to the logistics needed to pull it all off.
All the different aspects of the opening ceremonies, the sport venues, the pageantry, the excitement by the kids, everything's been very, very well done. And that's a great bar for them to set for us when we host in 2015.
While the Games took place at a number of venues throughout the Sherbrooke area, businesses felt the economic impact of the 4,200 athletes, their coaches, and supporters. Restaurateur Daniel Schoolcraft saw a modest increase in customers at his downtown fine dining restaurant.
In our case, it's in the summertime. And if I look at myself, my neighbor across the street is a 120-room hotel, which normally at this time of the year is full anyway. So we get business, but do we get wow business? No. It's a little bit more than business as usual.
Schoolcraft's other businesses gained from the Games, not to mention the area itself, which was estimated to experience a major economic impact before, during, and after the event.
The economic spin-off we estimate at over $100 million. I think it will be over $100 million, and a spin-off economic activities in the community.
It was a busy time for car rental agency owner Danny Savigny, who sponsored some of the transportation during the Games. It's been an important impact for people from everywhere who have come here and are staying here. Yesterday I had a reservation from a client from the Northwest Territories who is staying for 2 to 3 extra weeks. So the benefit for Sherbrooke and for Quebec is an important one.
Mais pour le Québec aussi, c'est important.
Here in Prince George, the economic impact is expected to fall between $70 to $90 million, and getting local business on board is an ongoing exercise.
If there's a way for us to get the business community at every level engaged in the Games, I think it'll go a long way to having that feeling that I've felt here in Sherbrooke, that feeling of hospitality, the feeling of love of the sport, love of the event, and love of their own community.
In Sherbrooke, the business community was invited to free information sessions before the games and was provided posters and handouts of games material designed to welcome visitors and help with other information about the event.
We offered free training to all business owners on how to greet and to be a very hot, warm, and welcoming community.
Numbers from the 2011 Games in Halifax have come in at $131 million of economic activity for the province of Nova Scotia, with more than 1,100 jobs supported through the province. In Sherbrooke, improvements to the pool at one of the universities, a new tennis facility, and upgrades to the soccer pitch were part of the $20 million infusion into the community, along with a $1 million fund to help future athletes.
All the equipment we'll give to the sports club here as a net or whatever, floors, lighting, and that's the fourth part of the legacy, and we're proud of that.
Here in Prince George, work has already begun on the biggest legacy project, modifying the Kin Centre.
There's a number of ways of looking at legacy, and it's something that we'll be spending 18 months talking to the people of Prince George about. So we've always focused right through the bid time, that the main capital infrastructure, the structural piece of what is going to be legacy is going to be around the Kin Centre and that improvement. That's the main amount of dollars being spent.
It is a piece to our bid process that we are absolutely requiring now. Instead of an afterthought, it should be a forethought before you bid for the games, to say what is it we want our community to become through the Canada Games.
A new biathlon range is also under construction at the Otway Ski Centre, including capital improvements so the centre will be capable to host national caliber biathlon and cross-country ski events in the future. Upgrades will also be made to Tabor Mountain, but perhaps one of the biggest legacies will be preparing our community to continue in its role as a host, more of a social legacy.
I think the biggest way that we will be experiencing legacy that Sherbrooke already had, because they had hosted some big multi-sport events, is that the people will be really ready and really understand what it takes to put on a multi-sport event and the level of services required to put on high elite sport.
We're going to have upgraded facilities. We're going to have, sports sector that's very, very tuned into what's going on the national stage, hopefully in the international stage someday with athletes that have come from our region that go on to international competition. But these are all legacies. Whether it's coaching certification that's gone up, officials that have been certified at a different level because they've now come to the Canada Games standard. This means that all of these national sport organizations, and there's 19 of them coming to Prince George, will all have an opportunity to come back.
Competing at the Sherbrooke Summer Games was the thrill of a lifetime for many of the 4,200 athletes. And for one in particular, a chance to paddle with Team BC on Lac des Nations. Coming up after the break, we'll meet Gemma Hansen, a Prince George athlete at the Sherbrooke Games. A chance to compete at a national level is a thrill for many of the young athletes staying here at Bishop's University during the Sherbrooke Canada Summer Games. But it's not just about sport for this local athlete.
Let's go, BC! Cheering on fellow athletes at Lac des Nations in Sherbrooke was just one of the highlights of the games for 15-year-old Gemma Hansen. The Prince George paddler was thrilled to compete on a national level this summer in the C4 boat.
And you get to meet all different kinds of people from around the country, and it's really cool just meeting those people and getting to know different kind of cultures within your own country. Yeah, and then different sports as well.
Hansen, like the more than 4,000 other athletes at the Summer Games, is full of nerves and excitement.
The butterflies are always there, you're never going to get rid of them, but I always try and use that to build me up and get me pumped for the race. I'm on the team boat, the C4, and we all warm up together. We all get in the unison of getting ready. I also try and listen to music before I go out because that really, really helps.
And while the athletes focus on performance, organizers focus on everything else to enhance the game's experience for competitors. The games are athlete-centered, with most of the planning money going into 4 main elements.
Athletes are in the center of our priority, you know, always, always. But for athletes, what is important is a good venue, good food, transportation, and accommodation.
This is the one time you have a chance to touch an athlete with a games experience, so if they do move on to international competition or university competition, they're going to have that experience, and they're going to remember their Sherbrooke games, they're going to remember their Halifax games, they're definitely going to remember their Prince George games experience. And it may be the difference between somebody who is competing and somebody who's winning at this level and moving on to compete and win at the international level.
Hansen was just one of 4,200 athletes at the Games in Sherbrooke. This influx of competitors demands the support of the community. The Games couldn't have taken place without the help of thousands of volunteers. In the end, 6,200 signed on, and the first to do so was Janice Lavallee, a longtime resident of the Sherbrooke area. She was eager to help.
In this particular event, I really wanted to get in right at the beginning, because other events I've come in just a few weeks before. I wanted to see how the event started, how it growed over a sort of a full year period, if you like. People have been planning this for about 2 or 3 years, but I wanted to get involved right at the beginning.
Lavallee's duties during the summer event ranged from manning the volunteer tent to linguistics, protocol, and working in the medical team. Her help at the Games was crucial, and she came away making new friends and meeting athletes, coaches, and families from across the country. As a resident of Sherbrooke, she saw the excitement around the Games build through the years leading up to the event.
It took a while for the sort of message to get out. As we saw over a year period, there wasn't much going on, but then all of a sudden everybody was right there, and they actually had to even turn people away, so right at the very end.
Volunteerism are so important at the security or at the venues or at anywhere.
In the parking lot nearby, Marion Touton directs traffic. She volunteered because she wanted to be involved in the experience of a lifetime.
It's about helping. It's really good to see that you can really help people doing that. And it's being part of like a big organization. It's interesting. I mean, it's like you don't do that very often in your life, I guess.
I find it very inspiring to see all these young people, all these young athletes getting an opportunity to compete. And, you know, when they win and when they don't win, and just the emotions and everything that's involved. I found that's something that I'll remember.
Here in Prince George, the list of volunteers is growing, and the campaign to enlist more help is ramping up. More than 1,000 locals have signed on, but it's hoped 4,500 will be on board by Games time in February 2015.
Any sports event, any major cultural event, you know, not just in Canada but around the world, without volunteers, they just don't happen, right? But that truly is the spirit of what goes on at these events, is how much effort they put in and how much they make everybody's life so much easier. But it's also an experience for them. You know, they too are looking forward to seeing sports and solving problems, and the majority of the things that happen and the magical things around these events happen long before they show up on the staff's desk or phone. They're handled by volunteers.
The culture of a host community is reflected by its volunteers. It's also reflected through dining, entertainment, and artwork, another legacy left behind by the Summer Games. Upon first glance, this mural depicts a hurdler in the midst of a race, but a closer look shows the 220 mosaics that make up the picture are also individual works of art. Joe Ford contributed the image of a baton pass.
I was late getting my panel. All of a sudden the panel arrived and there's a burgundy background with black lines going through it. And it's like, well, what am I going to do with this? I had no time left, so I had to decide what I was going to do. So we're going to Ottawa, and a friend of mine just happened to run 2 Canada Games. So he said, well, let's look through a couple of pictures that she has, and we'll see if we can find anything that we can use, you know? And so we came across this picture here, She was a bit timid on it because she didn't win gold with it. She came in with a silver medal on it. But I took it home, started to paint it.
Ford and hundreds of others across the country entered a competition to be a part of the artwork, and the Sherbrooke area artist was thrilled to be among just the over 100 selected. A total of 10 different art projects were commissioned for the Games, as it is a mandate of the event to include an artistic element. It's a chance for a region to display its culture, from music to food to art.
It's a kind of, how do you say, dépassement soi-même. You have to go further when you're sports or you're artist. You have to work on your passion to do more and more and more. So that's the thing who made reunion between the two, the sport and the culture.
People aren't just going to come and watch swimming. They're not just going to come and watch athletics. If they're going to be here for 4 or 5 days, they want to have some activities and they want to learn about what the region is.
How will Prince George show its culture in 2015?
Dominic Frederick, Chief, Lake Lieutenant Nation, official host First Nation for 2015.
For the first time, a First Nation is a cultural host of the Games. Members of the Claytley Tene will showcase their traditions for the duration of the event.
We're quite excited about that, and I think it builds up towards other games in terms of communities that participate in Aboriginal communities.
Coming up after the break, as the Games close in Sherbrooke, the spotlight turns to Prince George. Our city rolls out the welcome mat in preparation to host the Canada Winter Games in just 18 short months. Prince George is beginning to step into focus as the next host town of the Canada Games. Part of the organizing committee's duty is to throw a VIP reception showcasing our city. It's a sort of welcome, or bienvenue, as they say here in Sherbrooke.
It is the evening before the Sherbrooke Games close, and the final touches are being put on an event designed to invite the nation to the host of the next Games. A long-time tradition, it's a chance for the new city to showcase itself to Games organizers and a way to say thank you to Sherbrooke for its hospitality.
One of the things that it's important to do as the next host of the next Games is to meet with the different provincial organizations that are here, the leaders of the different teams that are here, as well as all of the national sponsors, and let them know and invite them to come to Prince George. It's also an opportunity for us to thank Sherbrooke. They've been hosting the next group of people here. So all of our Prince George contingent that are here have been treated so well by Sherbrooke and have had access to everything they need for that transfer of knowledge, and so it's an opportunity for us to say thank you as the Games wind down and let them know something about Prince George, leave them with a bit of a taste to come and see us in 2015.
But it's also the 100th birthday of the city of Prince George.
The reception, held in a hockey rink, introduced touches of Northern BC cuisine and decor, along with a video featuring 3 local athletes that are likely to be competitors at the next Games.
We really tried to ensure that everything that was Winter Games and Prince George and Northern BC was present here at the event. So as you can see, we're hosting the event at a hockey rink, which really ties into the whole theme of the Winter Games. But all the menu items are infused with British Columbia or Northern British Columbia. So some of the meat that we're serving, the wines are all from British Columbia. The decor has a British Columbian element.
Mr. Anthony Everett, Chair, 2015 Canada Winter Games Host Society.
On the final night of the Sherbrooke Games, the flame is passed on. From the organizers of the summer event to those in charge of the Games here in Prince George, it is then passed off to a runner who travels to the west.
Now it's, the pressure's on to make sure all the venues, the community is ready to host Canada, just like Sherbrooke did.
We are now the host city for the Canada Winter Games, and the focus from the Canada Games Council and Sporting Canada will be 2015 in Prince George. So people across the nation that are involved in this group will be focused on Prince George. We'll see and hear a lot more from them, and they from us as well. So we literally have it in our hands.
Over the months to come, local residents can expect to see the Canada Games staff and the host team ramp up visibility and look to engage residents about what will take place in February of 2015.
There's going to be a lot of work that goes on in the next 18 months. You know, getting ready for games time, just preparing the community for what it's like to have a whole groups of people from across the country coming in with different needs, different requirements.
What will happen is the community is going to morph even more. The host society is going to morph even more with more planning volunteers, okay, over the next 18 months, focusing on those final details that have to be done out in the venues, all the logistics and things like that. So, you know, very quickly it's going to morph from the number of hundreds that they have involved now to thousands, okay? And that doesn't happen very much, where somebody starts 4.5 years out with one person and 4.5 years later you're in 6,000 people.
Along with more exposure comes a lot of planning for the 18-day event from February 13th to March 1st.
The transportation details are going to get locked down. The sport details are going to get locked down. The various sport chairs are going to start to lock in their details around the competition. Protocol stuff is going to get locked down. The look and feel is going to start to grow around the games.
Over this winter, we're working on a lot of test events with the national sport organizations. So you'll see about 10 to 13 events come this winter to the Prince George region in area to test facilities, test capacity, and to host sports, so that the local residents are going to be able to witness a lot of the Canada Games sports right here in their own town through this next winter.
And when our games are over,
I want everybody in Prince George to be proud, not only of their community living in British Columbia, but that we're putting on a first-class event, and when everyone leaves our community, they think, wow, that was a great games and a great community to host them.
The Canada Summer Games has left the community of Sherbrooke truly inspired. It's hoped the same can happen when the Winter Games come to Prince George in just 18 short months. Not only through the hosting of the athletes for 2 weeks, but the legacies that will live on after the games are over and the athletes have gone home. The journey continues, and now the flame moves west.